Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Hearts Flying from Hearts Distractions. I'm your host, Alicia Maynard Gaines, an entrepreneur, marriage and family therapist, wife, mother, author, poet, mixologist, and so much more with over 20 plus years of experience in the relationship field. Today, we're tackling a big one: accountability, which is something that most people don't like to do. Or take, I should say. Accountability is often seen as a buzzword, a concept we know we need but rarely fully understand. It's the secret sauce of healthy relationships, and if done right, it can actually bring you closer, strengthen trust, and build emotional intimacy. The tricky part, though, is how to practice it without it turning into blame. Yep, I said blame. So let's break it down. How can we hold ourselves and each other accountable in a way that doesn't lead to guilt, shame, or resentment? By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear idea of why mutual accountability is vital for your relationship and how this practice can lead to stronger emotional bonds between you and your partner. So grab your glass of wine, a favorite drink, or even a snack, because this episode is about to get real juicy, y'all. With some added wine. You know, those tears lingering from our partner's lack of accountability or even our own. Let's take a step back, shall we? And get clear about what accountability actually means in the context of a relationship. You know, when we hear the word accountability, it's easy to associate it with something negative, like being caught for doing something wrong. But that's not what we're talking about here. In a healthy relationship, accountability is about owning your actions and understanding how they affect your partner. Do I need to say that again? I don't think I do. I think y'all got it. It's taking responsibility for how you show up, communicate, and act. Accountability also requires self-awareness. It's about being able to look at a situation and say, I could have handled that better, or I see where I went wrong here. It's about honesty, transparency, and vulnerability. If you haven't heard my episode on vulnerability, you might want to go back and listen to it. But let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself saying, well, this is just how I am, so deal with it? It's common for couples to fall into this trap, where they stop trying to change or evolve, thinking their actions are justified because of their personality, habits, or past. But true accountability is about being open to growth. It's about recognizing when your actions are not helping the relationship and being willing to change. And I get it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Owning up to your mistakes isn't easy. But think about this. How can your partner trust you, support you, or even grow with you if you're not owning your part in the relationship dynamic? Yep, I'm going to sit that there for food for thought while I hit y'all with this statistic. Because according to the Journal of Marriage and Family Therapy, couples who embrace accountability report 30% more satisfaction and emotional connection compared to those who avoid it. This shows that accountability leads to happier, healthier relationships because it fosters trust and closeness. Hear me on this one, people. I promise you'll learn something today. One of the main reasons accountability is so important is that it builds trust. Think about it. If you're always brushing things under the rug, avoiding tough conversations, or not holding yourself accountable when you make mistakes, your partner might start questioning your integrity. I probably would too. And trust is the foundation of any relationship. Without it, everything starts to crumble. I promise your relationship at some point will fail if you don't have this. In relationships, trust isn't just about being faithful or honest. It's about being reliable. When you hold yourself accountable, your partner knows they can rely on you to show up, to do the right thing, and to take responsibility for your actions. Have you ever had a situation where you or your partner made a mistake but didn't address it? Maybe it was something small, like not following through on a plan. But when that pattern continues over time, it starts to chip away at trust. Your partner might start to feel like they can't depend on you, which creates emotional distance when you own up to it, even if it's uncomfortable. It shows that you value the relationship enough to do better. It's like saying, I care about how you feel, and I care about this relationship. So here's where it gets tricky. Accountability is vital, but how do we hold each other accountable without turning it into a blame game? Because let's face it, nobody likes being blamed or having the finger pointed at them, right? But when we're blamed, we often get defensive. We shut down, we don't listen, and when that happens, no real communication can take place. The truth is, we often slip into blame because it feels easier. It's a knee-jerk reaction that helps us avoid our own guilt or discomfort. But here's the thing, blame doesn't solve anything. Blame makes your partner feel like they're the problem. It doesn't foster understanding or resolution. It just creates division. So instead of pointing the fingers, we need to shift our focus onto accountability, owning our part in the situation and understanding how our actions or inactions have affected our partner. Let's talk about the difference between blame and accountability, shall we? Blame is focused on finding fault, such as, you didn't do this, you didn't listen, you didn't show up. It's about fault finding. Where accountability, on the other hand, is about ownership. It's saying, I can do better. I could have done better. Here's how I'll do better next time. It's about taking responsibility without criticizing your partner. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you had a conversation where you focused on your own actions rather than your partner's? We've all been in that situation where we're upset, and the first thing we want to do is point out what our partner did wrong. But that kind of conversation doesn't lead to growth. It leads to defensiveness. I don't know who just heard that in the back, but I might want to say that again. It leads to defensiveness. Hear me on this one. Picture this. You're upset because your partner was late to a dinner that more likely you were really excited about. The natural response might be to say, you're always late. This is so inconsiderate. But what if instead you said, I felt frustrated when dinner was delayed because I was really looking forward to spending time with you. Can we make sure we're on time next time? I promise you'll get a better result. The first response focuses on blame. You always do this. Versus the second focuses on accountability and the emotion behind the action, which was, I felt frustrated and here's how we can fix it. This approach opens the door for your partner to take responsibility too, without feeling attacked. Accountability isn't about playing the victim or the hero. It's about mutual growth. I'm going to give y'all this wonderful quote that'll help drive this home. Blame is the language of a broken connection. Accountability is the bridge that heals it. Well, I wish I knew who wrote that because I would definitely give them their accolades for that. But unfortunately, the person who wrote it is anonymous. But we still gonna give them their accolades, even through this episode. All right. Now that we've covered the good stuff, let's talk about the red flags. Yes, the warning signs that accountability is lacking in your relationship. This is where things can get tricky. If you're not aware of these warning signs, accountability can easily slide into avoidance, defensiveness, or worse, emotional disconnection. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like those odds. I want a little accountability in my life. But I'm going to hit you with the first red flag, which is avoiding difficult conversations. If one of you keeps avoiding tough topics, it might be a sign that accountability is being pushed aside. The issue here is that when we avoid talking about problems, we're not holding ourselves or each other accountable for fixing them. Let's say you and your partner have a pattern of not talking about money. One person overspends, the other gets frustrated, but neither one of you brings it up. Eventually, this avoidance leads to resentment because neither person feels responsible for the financial stress in the relationship. Accountability isn't just about acknowledging mistakes, it's also about preventing them. If you never discuss the issue, it's a red flag that something's being avoided. Another red flag is deflecting blame. I don't know about y'all, but this one gets under my skin, y'all. When one partner is constantly shifting the blame or never taking responsibility for their actions, it can create a toxic dynamic. This might sound like, it's not my fault. I was busy. I had a lot on my plate. You didn't tell me. It's your fault. Or even worse, shifting the blame to someone else. Like if you got kids, they like to put the blame there instead of taking accountability for their own actions. If you notice that your partner or even yourself are frequently deflecting blame, this is a clear sign that accountability isn't being practiced. Here's the issue. If you're always passing the blame, you're never owning the relationship. And that's a problem. So take a step back and reflect. Is there an issue that's being avoided or constantly blamed on the other person or someone else? If so, it's time for a conversation about accountability. Hear me on this one, people. Now, let's dig into something many people overlook. Y'all know what it is, especially my active listeners by now. Generational patterns. Y'all know I love those as a marriage and family therapist. Think about how you were raised. What did you learn about taking responsibility and handling conflict? If your parents or caregivers didn't model healthy accountability, there's a good chance you didn't learn it either, especially if you had parents that enabled your behavior. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you grew up in a household where emotional issues were never addressed and family members just pretended everything was okay, it's possible you grew up avoiding difficult conversations yourself. And when it comes time to hold your partner accountable, you might struggle because you just never saw it modeled growing up. But here's the good news. You can break the cycle if you choose to. The first step is recognizing that these patterns exist. Once you're aware of them, you can take proactive steps to change them. Accountability in relationships is learned behavior. It's something you can practice and get better at every day. Now, here's a quote from Dr. Laura Berman, who's a therapist and author, as well as I am. We are all products of our past, but we don't have to be prisoners of it. So if your family was conflict avoidant, it's important to challenge that behavior and start practicing accountability by having open, honest conversations, even when they're difficult. Yes. Now that we've talked about why accountability matters and how to practice it without blame, let's get into solutions for when accountability is lacking in a relationship. If you're listening and thinking, yeah, we've been struggling with accountability, don't worry. This is where the real work begins. The best thing about relationships is that they evolve, and so can your approach to accountability. Here are a few solutions for when accountability is missing. One of the best ways to hold each other accountable is to check in regularly. This isn't just about waiting until things go wrong to discuss them. It's about having proactive, scheduled conversations where you both talk about how things are going. This might feel a little awkward at first, but trust me, it's worth it. It could be a weekly sit down where you both talk about your wins and challenges. I like to do both. Also, you could talk about, how did you feel this week? Were there moments when you felt disconnected? Were there things that you both could have handled differently? This practice keeps you both on track and prevents small issues from turning into bigger problems down the road. Promise you. But here's an example. If one partner forgot to follow through on a promise, a relationship check-in is the perfect time to bring it up in a non-confrontational way. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's simply about keeping the lines of communication open and checking in on your emotional well-being. Another solution, having clear expectations in a relationship makes accountability easier. But here's the trick. Those expectations need to be discussed openly. If you're expecting your partners to follow through on something, but you've never communicated that expectation clearly, you're setting both of you up for failure. Start by setting clear, specific goals together. For example, we want to spend more quality time together. Let's plan a date night every Friday evening. Or, we want to communicate better when we're upset. Let's agree to check in and talk things through before we go to bed. These specific actions set clear guidelines, and now you both have something concrete to be accountable to. If you're unsure where to start with this, try asking your partner, "What do you need from me to feel supported and loved?" It opens the door for clear communication and mutual accountability. Let's face it, no one is perfect. We all mess up. What really matters is how we respond when we do. Accountability isn't about holding grudges. It's about moving forward and learning from mistakes. When your partner slips up, instead of focusing on the mistake, focus on the solution and growth. Yes, which is another solution here. Focusing on the solution and the growth, such as, what can we do differently next time? Forgiveness in relationships is key. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means letting go of the anger and bitterness so you can move forward together. Marriage therapist Dr. Sue Johnson, in her book, Hold Me Tight, love that book, y'all, emphasizes that when partners can repair their relationship after conflict, it strengthens their emotional bond. It's not the absence of conflict that builds secure relationships. It's the ability to repair after conflict that matters most. Love that quote by her. Now, let's talk about trust and intimacy, the ultimate goal of accountability. Yeah, think about it. When both partners practice accountability, it lays the foundation for stronger emotional intimacy and trust. In fact, without accountability, trust can begin to erode over time and intimacy becomes strained. But when you and your partner are committed to holding each other accountable, you create an atmosphere where accountability is not only accepted but celebrated. Here's how accountability plays a direct role in building trust and intimacy. Trust is the cornerstone of any relationship, and accountability helps build that trust in a way that words alone can't. Imagine this. When your partner makes a mistake and they own up to it, it creates a sense of security. You don't feel like you have to guess what's going on or worry about being left in the dark. When someone owns their actions, it shows up. It shows you that they're trustworthy. Here's a simple but powerful example. If one partner gets home late from work and explains the reason, the other partner feels reassured. When trust is established, the relationship is a lot less stressful. But when accountability is lacking, ooh, baby, doubt creeps in. It sure does. So, emotional intimacy is the deep connection that couples share when they feel safe to be vulnerable with each other. And guess what creates that safe space? You got it. Accountability. When you're both responsible for your actions and you understand how your behavior affects each other, it builds a foundation of safety. Your partner feels like they can share their true feelings without being judged, criticized, or blamed. For example, let's say one partner has been feeling ignored because the other is spending too much time on their phone. Instead of getting defensive, the partner who's been distracted should own the behavior by saying, "I realize I've been on my phone too much, and I can see how that's been hurtful to you. Let's talk about how we can fix it." How many of y'all need to do that? Or need partners to do that? Because this fosters trust. Because it shows care for the partner's emotional well-being. I need people to get that one right there. But according to a study published by the American Psychological Association, couples who report high levels of trust and emotional intimacy are 50% more likely to stay together long term compared to couples who struggle with these elements. 50% people, that is a very high number. But it also says there's 50% of people out there who are not getting this. Okay, I'll move on. So we've talked about the benefits of accountability, but what happens when it's ignored? Well, ignoring accountability doesn't just mean that you're ignoring your partner's needs. It can have long-lasting, even damaging effects on the relationship. Avoiding accountability creates emotional distance between partners. When you or your partner avoid taking responsibility for mistakes, it can create a gap. You might not notice it at first, but over time, this distance starts to feel like a wall. The emotional connection weakens, and so does the sense of intimacy. You start to feel like you're living in parallel lives instead of working together as a team. The more you avoid being accountable, the more resentment builds. Over time, that resentment turns into bitterness, and that can seriously damage the relationship. One of the most significant risks of not practicing accountability is the breakdown in communication. When one partner isn't willing to own their actions, the other partner often feels unheard and unsupported. And without communication, baby, everything falls apart. So if you want your relationship to stay together and not have to glue it back together, you might want to add these things. But imagine a situation where one partner keeps lying about small things, whether it's how much money they spent or what they did during the day. Over time, this creates a pattern of mistrust. Eventually, it's not about the small things. It's about the fact that accountability has been skipped altogether. This creates a chasm of communication that's difficult to cross. Let's focus on the long haul now. Long-term relationships, marriage, and partnerships. When you're in a long-term relationship, it's crucial that both partners practice mutual accountability. Why, you ask? Because long-term relationships require ongoing effort and commitment. That's right. I said ongoing effort and commitment. And that means both of you need to continue showing up, owning your actions, and working together. Hear me on this one. Long-term relationships often face challenges that short-term ones don't, like raising children, dealing with financial stress, or adjusting to big life changes. And guess what? Mutual accountability helps couples navigate these challenges. For example, after having kids, one partner might start feeling overwhelmed with housework, while the other partner feels like they're doing their part. Are they doing their part? Oh no. Guess we're about to find out. This could lead to frustration and resentment if not handled carefully. That says they're not doing their part, right? But when both partners are accountable for their roles in the situation, they can work together to solve the issue without assigning blame. Mutual accountability here, love it. Because mutual accountability also means creating and maintaining a shared vision for the future, for your relationship. This could mean setting relationship goals, discussing plans for the future, and working together toward common objectives. It's easier to be accountable when you're both working toward the same goals. Relationship expert Dr. John Gottman, one of my faves, who has spent decades researching marriage, suggests that couples who regularly check in with each other and share responsibility for their relationship have a 60%, hear me on this number, y'all, 60% higher chance of success compared to couples who don't. So yes, accountability equals shared responsibility here to gain that 60% higher chance of a successful relationship. I wish I could say it better so y'all could really hear it. So here's the takeaway from today's episode. Accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about being responsible for how you show up in the relationship. It's about both partners owning their actions, having tough conversations, and working together to improve the relationship. Accountability builds trust, deepens intimacy, and allows both of you to grow and grow together. If you're serious about improving your relationship, start today. Look at how you communicate. Reflect on how you both practice accountability and make changes where needed. It's a journey, but I promise you, it's one worth taking. So, we've covered a lot today. Accountability is not a one-time thing. It's a lifelong practice that can strengthen relationships and bring partners closer together. Accountability fosters trust, deepens intimacy, and helps couples grow through challenges. Without it, relationships can easily start to break down, creating emotional distance and communication gaps. So, if you've enjoyed today's episode, which I hope you did, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Hearts Wine from Hearts Distractions for more in-depth relationship talks. Also, check out our website at www.aliciasdistractions.com for more resources. Follow us on social media for daily relationship advice and updates on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And if you haven't got my poetry book yet, Distractions of the Heart, under my author name, Alicia Marie, go on Amazon and grab that. Trust me, it's worth the read. Thanks for listening. And remember, accountability isn't just about being responsible. It's about growing together. So let's grow together. Shall we? Cheers.